Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about hemming all kinds of things. We're going to look at how to use stitch number 12 on the Brother LX3817. This is a blind hem stitch. But before we get into that, let's look at some different types of hems so you'll know exactly what to expect. First of all, if you look at any of your t-shirts, you will see a hem that looks like this on one side, and then it's got the 2 rows of stitching on the other. This is a cover stitch hem, and it is done with a cover stitch machine. You cannot do that on a regular sewing machine. You have to have a machine that just does that. You can use a twin needle after you've hemmed something and get that double row look, and I'm going to do a video about the twin needle. But your machine, this is a 3-thread function, and your machine only has bobbin and top thread, so it's not possible. But we can get close, and there's some other options. Now, if you look at the bottom of most of your blue jeans, you see a hem that looks like this. This is just a double fold hem. They just doubled it over, folded it once, folded it again, and then ran a straight stitch right across the edge. And that works good for thicker fabrics. Now, a lot of things use a narrow hem, like the bottom edge of this shirt. It's a narrow double folded hem with a really tiny stitch, and the downside to that is it tends to curl anywhere there's a curve or whatever. That's why you have to press that out. But that's a narrow, and the stitching in it is a straight stitch, so you can see it on the top. Now, what we're going to look at with a blind hem is a hem that you can hardly see. For example, this is one that I did on a scrap piece of fabric, and the stitch, as you can see, it's kind of a weird straight stitch, then it goes to a zigzag ever so often. And on the front, you can see there's just some tiny little vertical stitches. If you use a thread that closely matches the color of your fabric, you're not even going to be able to see it. Okay, so that's why it's called a blind hem stitch. So let me come around the other side and we'll see how to do it on the machine. So the first thing we're going to do is turn our stitch selector dial to stitch number 12. Now, if you have trouble turning your dial, make sure that your needle is in the up position and your presser foot is up. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to turn sometimes. But we are locked in here at number 12. I'm going to run a piece of paper through here first. I just want you to see what the stitch looks like. Okay, so that's what the stitch is going to look like. Now, on your fabric, what you're going to be doing with that stitch, and I'll show you how to fold this in just a second, but the zigzag part is just going to catch the edge of your fabric. The most important tool to getting a great hem is not this machine, it is not a certain foot, but it is the iron. Okay, it is very important to press the hem before you sew it so it can be sewn correctly. So the first thing you want to do is go over there and you're just going to press under 1/4 of an inch. Then you're going to fold it again however deep you want that hem. So let's say 1.5 inches, 2 inches. Okay, so the first thing is to press this 1/4 of an inch. I do not put water in my iron. I always just use a spray bottle and then press it down. Now, I use a little gauge that helps me keep it straight, and you can just shove that into the crease there and then line it up. That way you'll get an even hem all the way down. And I like these metal ones because I can just iron right over them. So then you move down a little bit more. And press that right down. Okay, so now we have our hem pressed. Oops, there's a water drop up. It'll be okay. Got that hem pressed. You're going to fold it back so that just about half of your, or almost to the edge of your 1/4 inch. Okay. You see how I have it folded back? There's my right side folded under, and this comes back here. Okay. That's what the other side looks like. And then I shall spritz it with a little water and press that down. Okay. Now we're ready to put it under the machine. Now, if you remember, this is what the stitch looked like when it was coming out of the machine. And you want the very tip of these things to catch this folded edge right here. The straight stitches right along here, the right head, they're going to go right along this edge here. Okay? So we're just going to put it right in the machine. And you need to get it a little bit past where your needle starts, otherwise it will suck it into the throat plate. So I've got it in there. I'm going to let my foot down. Now let me line it up. What I have here is that little center notch right there in my foot. I've got that aligned with this folded edge. Okay? It is aligned right there with your folded edge. After a couple of stitches, you'll be able to see if you're in the right place or not, because on a straight stitch, you don't want to be catching this folded edge. You only want it to catch that edge when it zigs out. Okay? So let's see if we can make it do. Put your needle in and you're checking it. It is not catching my folded edge right here. It's way out here on the 1/4 inch side. See, when it goes that way, it's catching this folded part. Otherwise, it is sewing right along here. Okay, so let's pull it out and see what it looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like. Notice these straight stitches are not in the folded part. Okay, next what you're going to do is you're going to open this out just like this, and then you're going to press it. Okay, let me run over here to the iron. Press that flat. You see. Sometimes you're going to have to stretch it out to get that crease out, but that's fine. Now we have it flat. Okay. Now you can see the stitches on this side because I used a much darker thread, but if you had used a gray thread, you would barely be able to see your hem from the outside. That's what it looks like on this side, and that's what it looks like on this side when you flipped it up. Okay? Okay, next let's see how you would need to manipulate it if you needed to hem a pair of pants. So if you want to hem it more than a couple of inches, you're going to have to cut off the bottom and then do the folded under a 1/4 of an inch. As it is, I already have a folded edge because there's a hem already in here. So, but like I said, if you've got to go 3 or 4 inches, cut off a couple of inches and turn under a 1/4 of an inch to be your finished edge. Now, once you have it pinned up, so this would be right where I wanted the hem, you're going to grab it, I usually grab it by the side seams and carefully flip it so that you don't stick yourself with a pin. Okay, so now you can see that pinned edge is on the underside. Here's my original hem, and then here's the pants. Okay, now let me come around to the other side. Okay, so one more time. We pinned up the pants where I want my new hem to be. Then I'm going to flip it to the outside just like this. Now, I'm going to repin it so that this is my inside edge and here's my original hem. I want to have that, 1/8 to a 1/4 of an inch right here. So I'm going to pull out my pin carefully, flip it around, and repin it just like this. Okay, all the way around. I'm going to pull it out and pin it. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like all the way around. Now we're going to get our machine that we have set to stitch number 12 because that's our blind stitch hemmer. And we're going to put this, normally I press this because you want to be sure, as I've said before, that everything is aligned just right. Okay, so once you get that done all the way around, you're ready to go under the machine. And this folded edge right here will align with the center notch in your foot. You can, oops, I popped it off. Hang on. I was trying to show you the notch. Okay. There's a little bitty notch right there in the center where the needle goes through. There it is. And you're going to want to get your edge right next to that notch. Put your foot down. Alright. So, let's get ready and let's give it a little gas. First I'm going to come up, put my needle into the fabric. Okay, did you see it? It grabbed the folded edge, and then it's going to do a few straight stitches, and then it went and got the edge again. Okay, now I do not sew over pins because I've seen too many needles break, and when they break they fly off. So I'm going to pull that out, and then I got a little crooked there because I'm trying to watch too many things at once. Okay, another needle to pull out. So let's stop there, because if I were really doing this, I would want to use a thread that matches my pants, because when I turn this around and flip it over, now you can see the tiny little stitches, but like I said, if I had used a khaki thread and then when I go iron this, you will not even be able to see those stitches. So that is how you blind hem stitch a pair of pants. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure and hit that subscribe button, and I will see y'all here at Mom's next time.